Story 1. AITA for leading my coworker on. Some background: I, 22F, work in the front office of a school. I've only been working there for like a month. Genuinely, I would consider some of my coworkers friends, and I thought the guy I was leading on was my friend, 26 meters. So earlier this week my ex, 23 meters, came into the school to pick up his niece early. Not surprising, we live in the same area. I was close with his sisters, and when they heard I was gonna work here, his sister enrolled her daughter here. Admittedly, when he walked in I made sure I was the one to attend him, and as we were waiting for his niece to come up to the office, we made conversation. I wasn't uncomfortable at all, and I doubt that I looked uncomfortable. As I was talking with my ex, my coworker came up to me and tried to wrap his arm around my waist and pull me into him. That made me uncomfortable, so I stepped away from him, and asked him, nicely might I add, what he was doing. He pulled me aside and told me that I looked like I was uncomfortable talking to that guy, so he came up to me to try and help me out. I guess he was trying to do that thing where when a woman looks uncomfortable in public, someone will go up to her and pretend to know her to get her out of the situation. I had just told him that I wasn't uncomfortable, and that I was fine. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Later during our break, he came up to me to explain a little more. He said he thought it would be fine to touch me like that. We're both interested in each other. I was genuinely confused, and he could tell. He started saying that we've been flirting with each other for weeks. I want to make it clear that I was never flirting. My ex and I broke up in April, and when we broke up, we said that later on maybe we could give our relationship another try. Since our breakup, I've really only been thinking when that later on might be. I haven't even wanted to flirt with anyone else since our breakup. I told my coworker that, and he looked upset, and TBH, I don't really blame him. Yesterday I got some texts from him and another coworker that he's close with, and they basically told me that I was leading him on, that I was an asshole for doing that to him, that I should have told him, that I just don't want to admit that I like him, etc. Anyways, am I really an asshole? I genuinely believe that I was never flirting with him. I think I was being nice, and I treated him the same way I did everyone else. Best comments: 1. NTA, this dude needs to learn that kindness doesn't equal interest. You don't owe him anything. And you didn't lead him on. He's just too dense to understand that friendship doesn't mean he's owed a relationship. His behavior was inappropriate, and the continued harassment afterward is too. Definitely talk to HR or your boss about this. 2. NFO, how close of friends/coworkers are you guys? Is this a work-only friendship or outside of work? Is there literally any scenario you can think of prior to this where it, looking back, could have even come off as flirty? I'm not asking because I think you're the asshole. I'm asking because I want to know by how far he crossed the line and maybe where he could have misread signals. Either way, I say NTA for one main reason. When you asked him in the moment, he said it was to protect you and for your potential safety. Then he takes a second to think about it. Maybe he's embarrassed by your reaction? Then he reopens the conversation to tell you that it was okay because you sent him signals. What it really sounds like is a lame-ass cover-up for a territorial insecurity over you talking to your ex/some other man. That's just my possible theory. And even if I'm wrong about that, you did not give him consent to touch you, and especially in a workplace environment. Period. End of story. He's the asshole for that. It is common workplace safety, training, and knowledge that grabbing your coworker around the waist is completely inappropriate. Him doubling down with his friend is only adding on to the harassment. No matter how you spin it, even if you by some chance were leading him on, NTA. Story 2. AITA for telling my sister's fiancé he should stop her from using his money to pay for her friends. My sister pretty much had zero of her own friends until last year. She'd lost touch with her old school and university friends, but they all came out of the woodwork after she got engaged to her fiancé and started portraying a certain lifestyle online. I think my sister is just so grateful to have her old friends back that she doesn't realize most of them only reconnected with her because they want the lifestyle she has. Her fiancé has given her free access to his money, and my sister has been using it to treat everyone around, including her so-called friends. I'm worried that they're just using her, and I've tried talking to my sister about dialing back how much she pays for things, but she finds it hard to say no when people ask her for things, so it hasn't worked as her friends aren't shy about asking. My husband is the person who introduced my sister to her fiancé, so we know him well, which is why I felt comfortable bringing the situation up to him. I suggested he should stop her from using his money to pay for her friends, and he said he would speak to my sister because he agrees that most of the friends are using her. He hasn't cut her off or anything, but he's keeping an eye on what she's spending money on now, which he wasn't doing before. My sister isn't dumb, so she knows it's because I spoke to him, so she's no longer speaking to me even though I was just trying to look out for her best interest. So, AITA? Best comments: 1. NTA, if there are people that you care about who do stupid stuff, you have the right to speak about it even if it is not your business. You didn't pressure, force, guilt, shame, do anything, Just conveyed information to your potential future bill about your sister's weakness. Now, how they both deal with this is their own business where you have no say, nor should you ever interfere nor bring it up. You informed people that you care about and let them deal with the problem however they see fit. 2. NTA, wasting her time on one-sided friendships stops her from creating genuine friendships. And eventually her husband may come to resent her for this behavior. And if she loses him, she loses them, so it becomes a no-win situation. 3. I think you did the right thing. Your sister may not see and realize it now, but maybe in the future she will if she's smart enough to open her eyes to realize that. I understand that deep down you want the relationship of her and your future bills to be great, and not him creating a resentment towards her for this in the future, and you care about her because she shouldn't hang out with these people. I think your sister needs to find a way to love herself more, because she sounds a little bit like an insecure person if she only can keep people around her if she has money, or in this case her fiancé. Normally it is no one's business, but in my eyes you're trying to protect her, and that's what sisters should do. For me, you're NTA. Story 3. AITA for not co-signing my boyfriend's refinancing of his mortgage when my name is not on the house and I have no legal recourse if something goes wrong. My boyfriend is mad at me, even though he says he loves me, because I wouldn't co-sign his remortgage deal on his house that my name is not and will not be on. He overextended his credit cards and wants to pay that off with the refinance, plus pay other bills. I am not on the mortgage, just would be the person to guarantee the loan if he doesn't pay. I live in the house but pay bills to live there, including electric, internet, etc. He works from home, but it hasn't been going well since COVID. He said he would get a job outside the house but hasn't. He blames me for his financial situation because in his mind I have caused this by not incurring his mortgage debt. Am I really the asshole here? Best comments. 1. AITA, if you willingly take on another person's debt and you aren't legally tied to that person. FFS, you're not even engaged, and even then I would tell you it was a dumb idea. You know that doesn't make sense, come on now. 2. NTA. Absolutely do not co-sign for him. Firstly, he's taking out more debt to pay off debt. Secondly, you're not married and you're not on the deed. If you break up, he'd have to sell the home or refinance again to remove you from said mortgage. That's a 30-year commitment to someone that's financially irresponsible. If he can't afford to refinance on his own, he needs to figure that out himself. Perhaps he needs to sell the home, pay off the debt, and downsize his living situation to be more within his means. Story 4. AITA for getting my step-siblings taken away after my mom and stepdad kicked me out. I, 16F, am in a really bad situation and I'm not sure if I did the right thing, so I need some input from internet people because if I trust any of the adults around me anymore. My parents split up a couple of years ago because my mom cheated. I haven't seen my dad since he left because he moved out of state, but he calls or texts sometimes. So I lived with my mom even though I didn't want to because she moved her boyfriend in and I hate both of them. He came with 2 kids, 7M, 5M, that he is most of the time, and they are the worst behaved kids I've ever met. I was always in trouble because I would have to babysit them, but they crash around and break things and I'm not allowed to punish them, but it's my fault anyway since I was watching them. They broke the TV throwing a baseball in the house and my stepdad lost his mind and demanded I pay him back for it, but I told him I was sick of being blamed for his awful kids and he could shove it. It turned into a big fight and they kicked me out and told me not to come back until my attitude was better. They took my phone, so I tried to call my dad from a friend's phone, but he never answered and I couldn't remember my grandma's number. My friend told her parents even though I asked her not to tell anyone, and they called the cops and it turned into a whole thing. My mom told them that I ran away because I was mad I had to babysit, but they didn't believe her, I guess because my grandma finally came and picked me up and she says I'm staying with her until my dad can get here to take me back with him. My mom called my grandma last week yelling because her boyfriend's kids got taken away to go live with their mom because of the whole thing and it's my fault. My grandma says it's not my problem, but I know the kids hate going to their moms because they pitch a fit any weekend they have to go. Also, I know this is a big hassle for my grandma even though she doesn't say anything and it's not good for her health. Now my dad has to come back from overseas to deal with it too. Maybe I should have just apologized even though it wasn't my fault and waited it out. Best comments. 1. NTA. I cannot express how much you are NTA here. No 16-year-old should be left in a situation like this. Your mom and dad need to take care of their children, they can't leave it to you. It sounds like your dad simply ducked out and your mom started exploiting you so that her new BF wouldn't have to take care of his kids. I'll bet those kids hate going to their moms because she doesn't let them run around like savages. Your friend did the right thing by calling the cops. I just hope that your grandma is treating you right and that you can spend the last couple of years of your childhood just being a child for a change. I'm sure the cops didn't believe your mom because her story makes no sense. What kind of kid in this day and age runs away from home without taking their phone with them? 2. NTA not even one little bit. This is not your fault in any way. You don't have to continue to put up with being abused. Child Protective is likely doing a complete investigation, and them removing the younger two has nothing to do with you and babysitting. The found reasons created by your mother and stepfather to warrant removal from the home. Your grandmother will be okay, and your dad is your dad and he will come to get you. You are worth every ounce of effort your grandma, father and you are putting into this. You deserve being treated well, not abused, and hopefully this is the start of many good things for you to come. 3. NTA. None of this was your fault. They kicked you out. You had to go somewhere. You even asked your friend not to say anything. This situation was out of your control entirely. You could not win at your old house and you have zero control over what the adults around you are doing, including the authorities. I am so sorry you're having to go through this. I hope your dad is kind to you. Your grandma, she's good. Yes, you might be some extra work for her right now, but I am guessing she does not mind at all. Lean into her and get support. If you feel safe, talk about what you have gone through. Again, to make it clear, you are NTA. You have done nothing wrong. Stay safe. If you enjoyed the story so far, please like, share and subscribe to the channel for the newest r/AITA stories. Story 5. AITA for demanding my parents not include my adopted siblings when we go out to dinner for my birthday. 5 years ago, my 15M parents adopted 2 of my siblings. I'll call them Cassandra, 17F, and Layla, 15F. 2 years ago, Luku, 2M, their biological younger brother, absolute light of my life, best boy, was born and surrendered, so he was placed with us too. Since they were adopted as preteens, a major priority for my parents was bonding with them 2-on-3. And they go to a lot of bonding things. They're constantly bouncing between adoption therapy, family therapy, which feels weird because I'm also part of the family. I'm only included once in a while, usually to be told I need to be less of a show-off, and every single bonding thing they can find. They also take them out after individual therapy, which I 100% support and would never admit to being jealous of IRL, but God, I'm jealous of it. I know it's not the same, but I had 6 bouts over the summer and it was a miracle that they attended too. Which did not include the last fight or the family day. At least come for the catharsis of seeing me get whacked with a sword. Sometimes circumstances demand that I'm there, and I moved my schedule to make this happen more often. At first they let me hang to the side, but then they asked that I step back so I'm not engaging with whatever it is they're doing with my sisters because the bonding activities are supposed to be for them. Last night, I told my parents that I wanted them to do things with me, alone. That they were wildly favoring my siblings over me, and I wanted to have dinner on my birthday with only them. They didn't take it well, and threatened to send me to therapy. We ate in silence for a few minutes. I tried to tell them I won the season-long bracket, and they emphasized how much it was not a time to be bragging or doing anything except apologizing. They said my siblings are traumatized and in need of more support. They also accused me of believing my siblings aren't real just because I wanted to have some time with my parents where it wasn't about my siblings. After dinner, Layla said she thought it was a good idea, and suggested we go out as a family but paying attention to me in particular for the whole week. That sounds incredibly embarrassing but amazing. I'd adore that, especially since I want to hang out with my sisters more anyway. Cassandra, though, pulled me aside and said that I had always been a spoiled asshole, but that this was like a healthy man demanding stitches from a poorly stocked first aid kit because everyone else had them and he wanted to feel special. She said I should take a step back and realize that that was an awful thing to ask. I'm split between wanting to run away so my family doesn't have to deal with me and sinking into the comfort of self-pity. I just want my own parents, or my own siblings or somebody, to genuinely care about how I feel or be glad when I do something well. Best comments. 1. NTA trauma healing is not a poorly stocked first aid kit where supplies only go to those most in need. Requesting one B-day dinner with only your parents so you guys can chat is not a rude thing to ask. It's not like you were expecting every week or something, just one meal out of the whole year. You are allowed to feel ignored and want to be acknowledged at least sometimes. I mean, they're also allowed to say no, they can't make it happen, since they would be footing the bill I assume, but I don't get that whole apologize for having feelings and needs reaction. Maybe take them up on the offer to go to therapy and tell your therapist you feel ignored and that you feel that your emotional needs for validation aren't being met. They could likely offer you quality advice about how to handle the situation, give you advice on things like what to say and how to tell your parents. Therapists can be an amazing resource to talk to about how to navigate social situations and how to effectively communicate your needs to others in a healthy way. Because yes, your siblings have needs, but your needs and feelings matter too. Everyone matters. There's no need for the trauma Olympics because seriously? My parents were abusively neglectful and had 5 kids, but I still got only me time with each of my parents. It was rare, but like it was there. 2. You're NTA. I do not mean this condescendingly, but as a statement of fact. You are a child. You deserve to have parents who are present and engaged in your life. What your parents do for your adoptive siblings is admirable. It sounds like they're genuinely doing their best for those kids. But it does not mean they can sacrifice you or your needs, or that your needs are less important or a lesser priority. There might be an argument for if there was a bad day and a parent had to rain check something to deal with someone navigating something big, but that isn't the case here. This is a clear pattern of behavior and you are asking your parents to be present in your life individually. It speaks a lot to your character that you talk about this the way you do. A lot of people are eaten up by resentment, and it's a fair emotional response, if they were, but you don't sound bitter. You just sound like a teenager who wants his parents to be present in his life and you are NTA for that. Do you have a guidance counselor at school? They might be a good resource to try to talk things through with to see if they can help you come up with ideas.